Okay, so we're going to look at the issues around buying a used kayak. Now, you should be able to get great value uh, buying a second-hand kayak. Um, we'll talk about how to find where the kayaks are being sold and how to avoid problems. Okay, so we're going to look at different styles of boat. The yellow boat is a touring boat. It's longer, it'll travel more efficiently, it's stable, it's comfortable, it's roomy, and it's got storage at the back. This particular one has a skeg as well. The green boat is more for river running and rapids. The grey boat beyond it is a playboat for doing acrobatics and so on, using the sharp edges to grab the current and do flips and so on. So quite different styles of boat. They're actually all my own boats, and that covers a wide range of different styles of paddling. But for yourself, you want to consider what type of paddling you want to do, and then look for an appropriate boat. It's important to get the right size. The boats typically come in large, medium, and small. However, different manufacturers mean different things by that. So the kind of two main issues are the actual weight, which they'll specify of the paddler, and the leg length, which the boats are usually highly adjustable, but obviously there's a limit to that. Check the outfitting. So the outfitting is the seat, the various points of contact, the footrests and so on, and also any handles that are a safety issue. So looking at size in more detail, so there's a weight range normally specified for different types of boat, so it's worth checking. Consider the leg length. Again, playboats can be very cramped for people with longer legs. Consider the outfitting. That's the things like the seat, how the seat is secured in the kayak, the hip rest, the hip pads, and the thigh rest, the foot rest. So seat and backrest. Again, various elements of these can be replaced quite cheaply, but obviously it's worth considering. Footrest has to be secure to be safe. Thigh pads are giving you good contact with the boat, so again they should be adjustable within some small range. And hip pads are removable, but just again give you good contact with the boat. So now we're going to consider hulls and looking at those. Things to think about is river rash. This is small scratches all over the boat. It's completely normal if the boats have been used in the river. Scratches, gouges can be quite deep. They're not a problem unless they're structural, which we'll look at that in detail. Oil canning, this is where the bottom of the boat instead of being concave has dented inwards. It happens with older boats. Some people get very upset about it. It makes very little difference to the boat on the water. My boat's happy, and it doesn't bother me at all. Wells I would avoid. Wells are where there's been a crack in the boat and it's been repaired. We'll look at that in more detail. Dents. Now, again, I would avoid any boat with dents, particularly in the frontal area or near the back of the cockpit or something where the canoe may be prone to fold. So here we're seeing the underside of my own boat. There is actually oil canning there beside the level with the white of the other side, but you can see that and there's plenty of scrapes and scratches and rash, but that boat performs very well, and importantly both ends have no dents or damage. So this is looking at the same boat but on the right way up. The handles are in good shape. That's the front of the boat, and again, no folds or dents where a rock has been hit. And then here you're seeing oil canning. It's maybe hard to see if you're not used to it, but basically the hull of the boat at the bottom has sort of flexed inwards. So not a concern in terms of the function of the boat, I would say. Certainly not for a beginner. Okay, so looking at that outfitting in more detail now, we look at the handles. These are important for rescues and for towing and so on. In the second image on the top, you've got the bung. Now, bungs are easily replaced if they're lost, but it should be there, obviously. Then, looking at the seat, you can see the backrest and airbags, and that column in the middle, the greyness, that is a structural column. So, again, the basic integrity of the hull depends on these foam blocks being in the right place, which they normally would be. You can see some hip pads on that seat. Coming down and bottom row, looking from left to right, you can see a ratchet there which actually adjusts the backrest. Again, ratchets can be replaced quite easily and cheaply. The middle bottom is showing the adjustments for the footrest, and you would have it equal on both sides. And the last image shows the other side. One thing to note there, very important, I've put my name and phone number on an indelible pen in the inside of the boat. Most times when people lose their equipment for whatever reason, maybe this went wrong, whatever, they often get it back, but only if, of course, if they've got their name and number on it. Okay, so here we're looking at a very obvious crack on the upper left picture. A repair to a crack, this yellow on red. Now I would avoid any boat that has these cracks, because the boat's definitely compromised. I would also avoid a boat like the one at the bottom, the white and green one, because you can see quite a dent at the front, and that's really where you want the strength for safety. So I would avoid that boat. There's plenty of other boats out there. So if you're buying a boat and you're meeting the person with the boat, and they're a paddler, they probably have been paddling for some time, and so they may have other equipment, and it may be possible to arrange a bundle sort of where the things like airbags may be sold along with the kayak, which would be worthwhile. The spray deck, obviously a spray deck that fits the boat is a useful thing to have, and maybe something the person wants to sell. And possibly a paddle. So those are the sort of things that it's just worth asking if you're buying a boat and you need these things as well. The person selling the kayak may also want to sell those. Okay, here's the warnings then. Sometimes boats get stolen. It's not very common, but it can happen. So you want to avoid any stolen boats. The way I would do that is try and confirm that the person selling it is a paddler. If they're not, good chance it is stolen. Okay, so the way I would do that is the social media, talking with them, just ask a few open questions about which rivers they've paddled or other, and it should be fairly obvious if they're a paddler or not. Also, going to collect a boat, if you arrange that, you might be carrying cash and going to a place that maybe isn't as public or as safe as, and there's a risk there of being robbed. The last one here is get a receipt. Less important probably, but it would cover you if in the case of cash and where there was no record of the sale. Having someone with you might be just as good and would actually help with the carrying the cash as well. But just basically common sense. Paddling community is a good community, and you'll have no problem from the paddlers. But if some boat was stolen, then you're into a different situation. Okay, so just some safety issues if you're buying a second-hand kayak. Basic maintenance. You want to confirm all your bolts are there and are tight. That would be things like securing the seat, the handles, which can be used during a rescue, confirm the handles are in good state. Yeah. So bungs again. you'll know if you haven't got one, but they're cheap and easy to retrofit if you need to. Ratchets, have a limited life. You can replace them, but you want them to be solid. You don't want your backrest to suddenly fall apart halfway down a rapid. Hip pads can be replaced, or they may not be there. You can get something to suit yourself, and they're often just velcroed in and adjustable in terms of how deep they are. And as I mentioned before, it's worthwhile putting your name and number on all equipment, paddle, boat, helmet, whatever, and to blank out any previous information which there may be. Okay, so where to find kayaks for sale? We'd always advise people to look for local canoe and kayak clubs, possibly university as well. There you'll find people with knowledge. The club itself may be selling some boats, but certainly clubs are a good source of people with knowledge and possibly of boats directly. Outdoor centres often sell off boats and equipment at a reasonable rate at the end of their rental season. So that's a possibility. And probably the biggest source for second-hand kayaks that kayakers themselves use is Facebook groups. And some of these groups might not be publicly available, although it's possible to ask to join them, and that might be a way forward too. Obviously, Facebook Marketplace is more general, so I would go for Facebook groups. You tend to get UK-wide ones and regional ones, and I would go regional because transporting boats isn't cheap. So hopefully you'll get the gear and you'll enjoy paddling. Strongly recommend you think about joining a club for their expertise and for safety reasons. Paddle with experienced people, definitely, and avoid idiots. Build your own experience up progressively. There's a lot to learn. Doesn't all come at once, but you'll enjoy it.